Devo Maha, welcome again, my patrons. This is kind of a preview of this week's programme. This week was a wonderful week here, the second week in April, Easter week, Easter Sunday, last Sunday, in 2020. And while the weather was beautiful, it wasn't very warm, so growth isn't great. We expect the cuckoo hours around the 14th of April here in Cooley in the Hills. It is now the 17th and she hasn't arrived yet. And there's an old saying that says, "Nor Lauren Cocher Krang and the deal the vogus canigarur." When the cuckoo sings in the tree without leaf, sell your cow and buy wheat. In other words, they expect a bad summer. That's the old saying. We're in the middle of COVID lockdown, of course, the coronavirus pandemic, and that means that I've had no new CDs in the door for the last 3 or 4 weeks, because to launch a CD, obviously people need to have concerts and gigs to flog the damn thing, to make the cost of them back again. So I'm concentrating tonight on a kind of a peculiar mix in this week's programme. There's an old friend of mine, Shawnee Driscoll, on it. He's from Cork City, he lives in Blarney now. He spent a lot of time in Minneapolis playing the banjo, where he used to play with Paddy O'Brien, the box player. And he met a Wicklow man there, Larry Egan. They're a family, I think they had a pub up in there. He's a box player. So they made this nice recording called The Kitchen Recordings, and I have one of his tracks. But it's interesting because there are two flings, and one of them is called the Cooley Fling, which is a version of a jig from this area for songs from Cooley. But they've turned it into a fling, and the second tune they have is Nettle Soup, and I'm just hoping that it wasn't someday they called to our house and that's what I got. But from now on, for the next month, Nettle Soup would be very good for your blood and so on, iron. I have a CD on tonight, Didn't She Dance and Dance, with Aoife and Niamh and Paddy O'Connor, kind of Sliabh Luachar side of this area. Very good musicians. Didn't She Dance and Dance, or She Didn't Dance and Dance, as some people call it. And that was a song that Bess Cronin used to sing. Bess Cronin was from the lower end of this parish. A piper that I have on tonight is a man called Brian McNamara. He has a few CDs out, Piper's Dream. He's up from the west, Cavan Leitrim area. And you wouldn't hear much talk about him, which is surprising because he's a damn good piper. Close piping, very clean and clear. So you'll hear him in this programme. That's number 1013. That's the number in that programme if you're looking back through archives. Michelle Mulcahy of the Mulcahy family features quite a lot in tonight's programme. She plays harp on this tonight, although she's always usually playing with her sister and her father, where she could turn her hand to the concertina or many other instruments also. My main singer tonight is Marnie Chéalacher from this area here. As you know, she won second place in the Reachtas Cornhiani Reda 7 years, and she won first prize then 2 years ago. She'd be one of the foremost singers from this area in the last, I suppose, over the last 100 years. You'd have to number her in the top 10 anyway. So she's there, and then she's a lovely singer. She's from Cork, but her family are from here, Kilmartin side more than the Cooley side or Ballyvourney side. A man who's living in Cooley is Conlog Rada from Cork, and he's a great strong flute player, great rhythm, great drive in his flute playing. He and Hammy Hamilton, the flute maker, started Cruinniú Flute, which is kind of a world conference of flute players in traditional Irish idiom, and that happens once a year. Presumably it won't happen this year because of the virus. But his CD, Knockbui, is a great CD. It's just Boran playing accompaniment, nothing, very little anything else in it. Recorded from the top of Coombe, and there's a couple of tracks of his in the programme. Tea with the Maggies is the three Maggies and Trina Ronald and her sister Mariad Ronald, and Mariad Nivoyanig and Maya Brennan of the Brennan family. They're all Donegal Gaeltacht girls and all really accomplished musicians and singers. So they came together for this album, and I'm quite surprised that this album didn't get more traction, more playing airtime on radio and so on. I think it's very well executed. So there's a couple of tracks of theirs in the programme tonight. Kathleen Maud She died in about 1980 or 81. She was originally from Rusmuk, but she was reared in one of the islands off further west. She was a very active person in the Irish language movement and independent woman. She was a great woman. We used to meet her regularly when we go up to Dublin from here in the late 60s and 70s, where she was working in Dublin. She had no fear. She was a good poet and she used to sing as well. So she's kind of one of the leading lights. You knew you had met her when you met her. And we have fond memories of her. Very courageous woman. So there's a poem of hers and a song of hers in tonight's programme, Kathleen Maud. And son, os na Críocha Ibirach or Galatia, from Galatia we have Carlos Nunez. And I just stuck them in because a lot of people in Ireland go for a holiday to the sun sometime during the year. I think the vitamin D keeps us out of misery, and in my family's case keeps one of our members out of hospital, dries the bones out as it were, and of course that will not be a flyer this year. So a touch of the Galician music to try and give us a hint of the sunshine. Hopefully we'll have a good summer. But you heard what I said about the old saying. This is kind of the cerebral part of the night, tonight's programme. It's Mickey Doherty, the Siamese. His grandfather, I think, was Simon Doherty. That's what they're called, the Siamese. They're a huge, very talented musical family in Donegal over the generations. And they were tinsmiths, travelling tinsmiths and fiddlers and so on. He had a brother, Johnny, who was younger than him. There's a famous photograph of Johnny and Joe Burke, the box player, where Joe's throwing his head back laughing. It's a black and white photograph. It was taken in a pub up there by a friend of mine from New York who died late last year. She was a wonderful photographer. Senior moment, can't remember her name. It'll come back to me in a second. Jill Friedman. She was a great woman, great photographer. We had some fun together. She had a great eye. Anyway, that's the Dohertys. And the interesting thing about Mickey Doherty is to see how he used the instrument. And you can see the very strong relationship between that and pipe playing, particularly bagpipe playing, and the Scottish element, which they imitate. Their way of using the fiddle is quite different up there to lots of other places. They sit around and hand one fiddle to each other and play tunes in turns rather than the whole gang mowing in together. And they discuss the music and talk about it, and it's a more complete thing. And I think their old recordings made in 1948 or 9 by Kevin Danaher and Sean O'Doherty, the commission builder to Éireann, and they're very good quality for that time, brilliant quality, but they knew that they were on rich material. 3 CDs in that collection. Then there's Johnny Connolly, Bnach Dalish. He died a couple of months ago, the melodeon and accordion player from the West, and I have a couple of tracks of his. This Dublin of Hanloig is one of his many CDs. There's a group then called Grada, topping the programme. They're from, well, their record company's Compass Records over in Nashville, but the members are made of people from New Zealand and Dublin and the West. They're based in Dublin and the West. Young, able musicians, more kind of energetic music than we'd say other kinds. And then last but not least, there's a track or two featuring of my Cóilací from Radio na Gaeltachta, Nancy Nichoshla, who runs a very good music programme on Radio na Gaeltachta a couple of nights a week, and she's playing with Tommy Mellett. We'll have a couple of versions of The Geese in the Bog. So that's tonight's programme. You can listen back to 5 or 6 weeks on the RTE player, and obviously the notes go back, the logs, the lists for all the pieces of music and the relevant sites for all the different artists are on site on the www.padroreada.ie. You get all the information up there in the post related to that programme tonight. Other things that happened during the week, I had a butterfly session here last Wednesday, a newly composed piece of music which was premiered on the Butterfly Sessions, which is a special music network campaign to get 20 musicians to produce work for the next couple of weeks during this lockdown period. And there's some various other projects like that. Also, we are broadcasting, streaming live from the church in Cooley, Chapel Cooley, the religious services as they come up, with the skeleton choir, skeleton crew, cut down choir, and the choir provides the readers also, so there's no absolute minimum amount of people in the church, which is locked. Doctor is always present to keep an eye on us, and the priest, of course. So they're 11 o'clock, the masses on Sundays, including this Sunday coming. Be mai caint bhríis, gur magah, go naíileh. Dáman scéil tá a brathebh a socht bhór dacaíocht. So ná din dearúd clicking inamh bun on video on sama hanin shelif. Of course, and depending on your support, always to keep producing these videos. So I need you to click on support below, or even become, if you're not already, become a patron member. Gur maith agat.